Rich on Monday, broke by Friday. Who's the real boss? Your cash flow is. You're listening to Success Unleashed, where we show contractors how to grow a 7 or 8-figure business. My name is Garrett Bake, and I've helped over 1,000 contractors and trade business owners just like you put the people, processes, and plan in place to create ultimate freedom. Welcome to the show. The other morning, I was up early, and about 4:30, a text came in. The text was from one of my subs asking for, you guessed it, payment. Now, it wasn't that I didn't want to pay the sub. It's that the contract that we have is a paid when paid contract, which basically means I'm going to pay you when I get paid. And since I hadn't been paid, I wasn't going to pay him. His issue, though, wasn't with payment. His real issue was the fact that he owed the supply house and payment was due that day. Now listen, it's not that I don't feel for him. It's not that I wish he wasn't in that situation. The plain truth is, he put himself in that situation. And if right now you're riding the cash flow roller coaster, rich on Monday, broke by Friday, it's not an accounting problem. It's a you problem. So how do we solve this problem, right? How do we get out of this roller coaster where we're robbing Peter to pay Paul? You may not have heard that statement, but this, you do know what I'm talking about. You land a job, you start doing the job, but you haven't been paid yet. And so you land the next job and you use the money from the last job or the next job to pay your last job. And then it just keeps rolling. And eventually, as they say, you run out of runway and it all catches up with you. You got 10 outstanding jobs and don't have the money to pay for them. So whose problem is it? Whose fault is it? Is it your customer or your client? Is it the GCs? Is it the banks? Is it your suppliers? No, ultimately, the problem is yours. 100% on you. Now listen, I don't necessarily want to make you feel bad, but I kind of do. Because I want you to understand the importance of this. I can tell you for a fact, in the last week alone, I've had 7 contractors reach out asking for help with their cash flow. 7, 1 week. And these aren't all brand new companies. One of them was doing $3.5 million a year. One of them 500,000 and the other one about 750, and then the others in between. So it's not a new business problem. It's the management of a business problem. So the first thing that you need to understand is that just because you're quote unquote making a profit on a job doesn't mean that you're going to have cash left over at the end of the day. Jobs can look great on a P&L while your bank balance suffers. I had a friend of mine one time tell me, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you charge. It doesn't even matter how much you make. What matters is how much you keep. So what is it that we need to do to stem the flow or stem the bleeding, right? If you cut your arm and it's bleeding, what are you going to do to stop it, right? You're going to do something. You're not going to sit there and watch it bleed out, okay? You're going to do something. So it might be cover it with a rag, right? It might be, maybe I've done this before, throw some super glue on there, right? Put a Band-Aid on there, maybe a wrap. You're going to figure out what you need to do to stop the bleeding. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? Oh, I don't know. It's going to keep bleeding. So whether it's slow invoicing or small deposits, sloppy change orders, or not even charging for changes, maybe the fact that you're fronting materials, or even worse, letting clients dictate the terms, we need to stop it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't, somebody else will. And by that somebody else, I mean the door's closing on your business. Here's a stat for you. Ready? 84% of small businesses, of which yours is included. Oh, and by the way, some of you guys are like, I'm not a small business. Anybody under 20 million is considered a small business. Sorry, not sorry. You're a small business. So 84% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years because of cash flow problems. 84%. Here's another stat for you. 46% of owners don't pay themselves so that they can make payroll. What are you, running a charity? Like, that's not the game that we're playing. So what is it that we need to do? Okay. What is it that we need to do to make sure that our business not only survives, but it thrives? I'm going to go at this from two different angles. Okay. First, I'm going to talk about the contracts. Okay. Here's what you need in your contract: payment terms. Payment terms. Why? Because if you don't have payment terms, who's going to dictate the payment terms? Probably the client. We had some plumbing work done in our house last week. We're getting our basement finished, right? My daughter's moving in. Different story. But we're getting our basement done, and the plumber sent me an estimate, which I approved. And then they sent me a request for a deposit, which was 50%. And I said, hey, can I pay you with check when you show up? They said, absolutely. So they showed up. We had the check ready. The plumber didn't take it. He forgot it. So he came back the next day to finish the quote unquote rough-in and asked for the check. And so we gave him the check. And he said, this isn't all the money. And I said, you're right, it's not. And he said, but I did more work than this. And I said, congratulations. The payment term said 50% down. It doesn't say anything about you getting paid at any other point in this process. Now, I wasn't a dick, okay? But I want you to understand, if you leave room for interpretation, people will take advantage of you. Now, I ended up paying him the whole thing up front because I trust him, I know him, and I know, he's going to come back and finish the job. But if you don't have payment terms laid out, what makes you think you're going to get paid? Talking about payment terms, if you're requesting 30, 40, 50% down or more, which you should be, and you haven't been paid yet, don't start the job. Oh, but the promise of getting that payday. Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. A promise. And until you get paid, you shouldn't start work. Why? Because now you're violating your own terms. Because now it doesn't matter how much work you do. If you haven't been paid, you're in the hole. Payment terms, payment terms, payment terms. Do not start a job before you've been paid. What else? Well, if you have progress payments, make sure that you're getting paid in the progress payments. If not, you guessed it, stop the work. If the client requests a change, that is called a change order. And yes, I'm speaking to you who doesn't charge for your change orders. I'll make up for it in the end. No, you won't. I'll charge them in the end. Okay, but they're not going to pay. Like, if they request you move a faucet from over here to over there, say yes, but then get written confirmation of a change order. I literally have a friend and a referral partner that I connected on a project, an HVAC project. And because work was done that wasn't approved, now they're in a big fight and argument. Whose fault is it? What do you think? So change orders, okay? They're important. You need to get paid, but not until your payment terms or your change order terms are met. Number one, get it in writing, right? Not a verbal, not a thumbs up, in writing. Number two, if part of your change order process includes 50% down, then, don't start the work until you get paid. Fair? So think about this for a minute. Okay, we're talking about making sure that your company not only survives, but it thrives. And everything that we've said so far isn't a hard thing. It's not a difficult or unreasonable thing. It's just something that you're probably not doing. Now, next thing. When it comes to you getting paid, okay, sometimes we can control it and sometimes we can't. We run on a paid when paid contract, which means when we get paid, you get paid, right? And if you're signing that contract, you are agreeing to those terms. The problem inside of that is if you're paying for materials up front, or if you don't have favorable terms with the supply house. What happens? Well, you may have a net 30 term with your supply house, but it's going to take you 45 to maybe even 60 days to get paid. Well, who's on the hook for that? The client, the contractor, or you? It's you, right? So the problem is that you're not setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for failure. So the next thing that you need to focus on is if you don't have cash in the bank to ride the cash flow roller coaster, then you shouldn't take jobs that will make the dips that much bigger. In other words, if you're a residential guy and you want to jump into commercial, that's great. I highly recommend you do it to grow your business. When you can afford to make that jump, you should have a minimum of 3 months, but really ideally 6 months of your operating expenses in the bank before you ever do that. Because if not, all it takes is one of these jobs to bite you in the ass and you're done. You're done. And again, no one to blame but you. The third thing that you need to look at is those reserves, okay? So you're like, well, I don't have any money in the bank. Okay. You and 80% of all contractors, congratulations. But it doesn't mean you have to be that way. So my recommendation is every job, charge a little bit more, 1%, 3%, 5%, not so that you can put that money in your pocket, but so you can put that money in the bank and you can start to build up your reserves. If you want to start at 1%, that's great. I recommend as closer to 5 or even 10% as you can, if you can afford it. Right? But write it into your contract. Make sure your markup gives you the margin that you can take that money and put it in there. You're going to thank me. Trust me. There is nothing worse than being caught with your pants down. There is nothing worse than stressing out at 3 o'clock in the morning about how you're going to make payroll because you haven't been paid on those 6 commercial jobs you did. Nothing worse. There's nothing worse than waiting for that $20,000 paycheck from Mrs. Jones for the kitchen remodel you did and she hasn't paid you yet. Well, congratulations, you have a lien. What does that mean? That means you reserved your right to sue her or to place a lien on her property. Doesn't say you're going to get paid, right? Make sure you have that reserve to ride that roller coaster. So here's a very simple way to understand what it is that you need, okay? For a month, keep track of all of your expenses. Where are you paying your bills? Is it vehicle expenses, gas, insurance, rent, employees, workman's comp, materials, right? And figure out what that number is on average. That's the dollar amount that you need inside of your bank to survive 1 month without getting paid. Now multiply that by 6. That's what you should ideally have. So let's say your operating expenses, your overhead, if you will, are $30,000 a month. Cool. You need 30 times 6, 180,000 in the bank that is sitting there for no other reason than the rainy day. Some of you guys are like, but I need cash now. Totally get it. Totally get it. Here's a couple options for you. Number 1, get a line of credit. Through a bank, through a credit union. Some of you guys in a pickle, you're going to have to go hard money. No, the terms aren't the best, but hey, if you want your business to survive, you might have to do that. But get a line of credit. Some of you guys have access to a HELOC, home equity line of credit. Get it. Get that so you at least have something while you're building up your reserve. Doesn't mean you have to use it. It just means you have access to it. At the end of the day, I want you not only to survive, but to thrive. And if you don't put the pieces in place to do that, we won't be having this conversation in 6 months. All right. You guys know what time it is, though. Take these strategies, implement them in your business so that you can grow. If you want more strategies like this, join our Bill Pro community. We got a free 7-day trial. You can poke around, check things out, steal some strategies. But at the end of the day, we want you to stay with us. We want you to be part of our community so that you can learn and grow along with every other contractor inside of there. The link's down below. Click it, join us, become a Bill Pro member today. All right. You know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1. Off you go. If you're serious about growing your contracting business, and let's be real, if you made it to the end of this episode, you are. We've got a free community built just for you. Inside, you'll get access to exclusive courses, live coaching calls, and in-person events that will give you the tools to scale with confidence. Click the link below to join us, and I'll see you on the inside.